already hear us.
I know. They always sneak up on us.
Once I see it on this screen and mute
there
it,
is.
then we'll
There
get
it
going.
is. And then just drop in the description. People know what they're getting into.
It's amazing how early
I know.
the YouTubers.
Yeah, join us.
Okay, let me know when you're ready to record.
Okay. Got a minute here. Hello, everyone in YouTube land. We have a great show.
We have a great show. We have a great guest. We're just getting everything streaming to Facebook now that we're streaming on YouTube. We got lots of great things to share with you. We got a great email and video from Deborah, a longtime listener and artist, and she took the Intuitive Method workshop. Oh, if you're interested in the Intuitive Method, you can look up the podcast, The Intuitive Method, that I made available so all of you can learn the Intuitive Method, or what we're talking about when we're talking about creating intuitively, which we're going to talk about today too, because we're reading from my most recommended book for artists, Learning by Heart by Karita Kent. If you only get one book on art making, this is the book. Right, Ed?
One book on art. It's called Learning by Heart. It's funny, my in-laws' last name is Hart, so I'm H-A-R-T, so I'm often learning by heart. H-A-R-T. All right, shall we?
Yeah, I'm going to record. You ready?
We are ready.
Are you ready, Ed? Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
That's right.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from middle school studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
Oh, yeah. We're partially fueled by Rod Schweitzer's, what's that called? Papa? No.
Big Papa. Because it's Papa New Guinea coffee.
Yeah. So thank you. We stopped by before the show and grabbed the bag of coffee off of Rod Schweitzer. Thank you, buddy. You might be tuning in through YouTube right now, but man, we got great news for you. Today is a reminder that this is it.
This is it.
This is it with Reverend Richard Pacheco. How do you view your life? Do you catch yourself in disappointment, rhetorically asking, this is it?
This is it.
The good news is all it takes is a change of punctuation to go from ho-hum to yabba-dabba-doo. Simply erase that question mark and replace it with an exclamation point. Then try it out. Say, this is it. Repeat it loud a few times. If you do, we are certain that you'll soon be tuned into a higher frequency. Soon you'll be on the same wavelength of all the good the universe has to offer, and you'll feel it. On this episode, Darrell and Ed discuss how the way in which we use our words influences our experience. And during the second segment, Urban Unity Minister Radio's Reverend Richard Pacheco. That's a lot of words.
It's
Unity Urban Ministry Radios. Reverend Richard A. Pacheco. It's actually called Anointed Radio. And that link, by the way, is in the description for both the show and the podcast on YouTube.
And we're on that channel, and we're so happy to be included because
really
we're included with a lot of other podcasts that we enjoy as well.
Who was it? Reverend Cheryl Campbell was from the Unity?
Yes.
Yeah. She was Michael Schoonover's teacher.
Yes.
And she came on the show.
And we gave talks with her.
Yeah, that's where we first were introduced to how amazing she is at the
Unity Village,
the Fillmore Bible Study Gathering. So Richard Pacheco will rejuvenate us with today's reading. Can you imagine that, from Foster McClellan? And
Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine that? Yeah, this show, I mean, just like it says in the description, I was standing outside the post office on my break during teaching, and I've learned if you have a break, don't hang around your desk for no reason, because you might think it's no reason, but really there's a voice inside your head going. And Darrell's always been good at articulating this. What would the voice inside one's head say that would make them think it's virtuous to stay at the desk?
I better remain here and look like I'm miserable so they don't fire me. It's horrible.
Right. That's right. Mommy loves when I suffer. So anyway, I was at the post office getting coffee, and when I go out, I usually get coffee. I'll take a walk. I'll go over to the One Culver where Sony used to be, just to get in a more prosperous feeling environment. I have friends now over there, security guards. Maybe we'll talk about the Laker game, whatever. Just wherever we go, by living this way and realizing this is it, we start to make friends.
And miracles happen.
And miracles happen. I just want to say, I was standing there, and I was excited, man. I've been writing music again, recording music, just playing new music. That there was a time not long ago. I mean, working with these principles is incredible, because in like 6 weeks ago, I'm thinking, how am I ever going to write music again? And now I have 7 new songs, and it's fun, it's easy. And so I'm standing there going, this is it, man. I am living it, And I remembered not long ago.
7 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I remember exactly just 7 weeks ago, or several years ago, or whenever, just standing in the same parking lot and thinking, this is it. I'm a school teacher, and it's just, this is it, God.
This is it. I'm wearing this gray suit to school every day.
Right, which I never wore a gray suit, but my skin, it was a more of an energetic gray suit.
That's what I mean.
know. That's what I wanted to translate.
On like a gray suit.
Yeah, and thank God, I followed the path inside that knew there was more. I met Darrell. I just kept taking steps, and now I realize this is it, because I read something from Marianne Williamson where she says, she reminded us, it's not the first person to say it, but that God is always in the now.
Yes.
The fullness of God is always in the now. It's only our mind that can get off the frequency, like we said in the description, of God in the now. But the answer is always, this is it. This is the doorway. This is the moment. This is the fullness of God here and now.
Can you read Deborah's thing? Because this goes with that. Because the thing is, we may think, oh, I'm not ready. But our intuition, or God, is always ready inside us.
Yeah.
And Deborah just wrote us today.
Yeah.
I think you got it right there.
Oh, yeah, I have it right
You might
here.
as well throw it in, because it's a perfect example. Because what she says.
Yep. Yeah, because remember, it's done unto us as we
believe.
So I was telling you just earlier this morning, I was like thinking, man, this voice, intuitive voice, is always telling me, you're not sick, you are well.
Yeah.
Just keep going forward. And I realize when I'm in harmony with that voice, it's amazing. My life hums along. And then sometimes all of a sudden I'll just fall out. It feels like I just fall out of it, and I start to doubt it. Can I really trust the voice? And I realize this is what it means by it's done unto us as I believe. I can always trust the voice, but if I'm believing in my subconscious mind that it's not going to work, then I'm going to get limited results.
Yeah.
So anyway, by the way, you said this before we started this show, but before we start recording, because if you don't know, we do record live on YouTube at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. Funniest thing with Darrell and Ed, but remind people about the podcast, because this is all tied together with this show. Is what you're talking about on the podcast that's out.
So Deborah, whose letter we're going to read, she is a longtime listener and has become a friend, like most of our longtime listeners that contact us. They feel like family. And she's an artist, and she took the intuitive method workshop I gave.
Right.
And I was just telling everyone, if you want to learn a little bit about what was shared in that workshop, I created a podcast that has the meat and potatoes of it, because I want as many people as possible to benefit from this information. I don't need to covet it, and you have to take my workshop.
Which is exactly what the Fillmores and Ernest Holmes, and particularly Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, were all about this.
Yeah, so you can listen to it at your leisure for free if you just Google or search your podcast app for it'll say Darrell Fazaro. And Deborah took the class, but what she wrote today goes perfect with what we're talking about. And right before the show.
That's right. So the subject was actually intuitively making art. And she said, hey guys, what does it say? Our Internet was unstable for a moment, but hopefully it's okay.
No, it's good.
Okay. It says, hey guys, yesterday I spent about an hour and a half recycling old greeting cards into collages for my pals who have April birthdays. The little voice said, do it now. So I did. Happy hands, take over. Both of you sharing ideas, readings, guests, and personal experiences inspires me and everyone. Thank you. Want me to put this to the camera?
No, I don't think we need.
Yeah,
I don't think
she
we
just
need
sent us a really short video of her one of the cards she made.
Yeah, but what I want to say is,
Yeah, go ahead.
That little voice. This is the thing.
That's it.
When whenever intuition talks, it's always in the form of this delightful, enthusiastic idea.
Yes.
But then the other voice, the suppressor,
Satan.
I call it it's like a suppressive voice that goes, well, no, not right now.
Yeah.
And I've learned more and more to just say, I could do this now. I don't need to hold out and wait. And whenever we do it now, just like her example, she listened to that little voice. And when you go with it, right, even if you're trying to tell her, I'm tired, I don't know where to start. I always say, when that voice comes up, I'm tired. I have the idea, draw now. Oh, I'm kind of tired. But my intuition is never tired. Or I don't know what to draw. But my intuition knows what to draw. And just starting turned into an hour and a half for her. And I just happened to pull out this little reading. It's
I also want to say that the reason I said the word Satan is because Michael Scudder made it clear, like, the Hebrews believed in one power, which is God the good.
The Hebrews, yes.
The Hebrews, which is where this term Satan came from, right? Which means adverse thoughts.
Yes.
Like, it's so easy to overlook because that voice that gets in the way of us listening to our inspired inspiration, that's it. Satan was never, by dressing it up to be some like crazy demon,
entity.
Scary, we're missing it. Anyone could put on a devil suit and jump around, but it's that little voice inside our head that gets us off track with the intuitive inspiration.
Yes.
That is the sum and total of what really the devil, Satan, whatever, is all about. And you said it's a trickster. It just tricks us out of our good because it tells us it's too done, whatever. We don't have time. We're too tired, blah, blah, blah. Even though if we do it, it'll give us back energy, not take away energy.
Well, that's why they say, it describes it in the Bible as seemingly your friend, because it's always these ideas of concern. They come disguised as reasonable friends. Like, well, you're tired right now.
Yes.
Or
yes.
Or, you don't really have enough time to start that project right now.
Right.
We'll do it later when we have more time. It makes reasonable justifications for not stepping out boldly on that intuitive thought.
Yes.
But what it's doing is it's steering me away from my authentic self.
Yes.
And that's what we got to remember.
Yes.
I was also thinking about surrender, because, surrender is a good thing when you realize what we're talking about. We're talking about surrendering to our good. It means being able to let go and go in the direction of either a necessary change or a desired change. And a change can just mean I'm going to draw now.
Yeah.
Or a change can just mean, you know what, I'm just going to play on the keyboard right now.
Or a new choice.
Yeah, a new choice. So, and people who recover from all sorts of things, they have to surrender to a new choice.
Yes.
And I used to think, well, why is this surrender? And it hit me like in my being of what it means to surrender. Like, and this vision came to me.
Yeah.
Where, you don't want, it's like you're on the side of a rushing stream and you're hanging on to dear life to like shrubbery on the side. Right. Yep. And you're terrified to let go because you don't know where that stream is going to take you.
Yes.
And the assumption in your brain, no matter how painful it is to stay here and this water rushing, oh my God, this is horrible. I'm losing my strength. This is nuts. We're afraid to believe and trust that stream is going to take us somewhere good.
Yes.
We're terrified that we're convinced it's going to take us somewhere bad. But here's the big joke. Once we let go, we realize, holy cow, I'm in the positive stream of life. And every time I say no through a justification or discouraging myself from doing something new or accepting a new idea. And how about Ed and I were talking earlier? We also can't get hung up on trying to convince others.
Nope, that's right.
To try something new because we know ourselves. And this is what we know about ourselves. When I'm in my cups, feeling self-pity or whatever it is, sometimes we get violently opposed when a friend comes over and goes, come on, that's crap. You know this about yourself, Ed.
Yes.
Stop that. Or Darrell, come on, that's bullshit. Look at your life. What are you saying that for? And we'll go, no, you don't understand. We'll even adamantly reject and rebuke the good being offered.
Yes.
So here, I'm going to read this little bit. This is a miracle. I was cleaning up the studio for today's show, and this piece of paper printed out from who knows when, from Joyce Kramer.
Yes.
And it's only like one little bit of it.
Wow.
It was just on the floor over there. So listen what it says. It's exactly Deborah's example and what we're highlighting. You know, this approach of surrender, saying, this is it. This is my life. This is where I ended up. I thought I was going to have so much more. Okay, that is not surrendering.
That's right.
That's holding ourselves back. Think about that. That's not, no, I'm stating the truth. No, you're not stating the truth. You're suppressing your life force right now in this moment.
Yes.
And when we switch to, I could switch it just by changing one thing in that sentence, the exclamation, turning the question mark into an exclamation point, and simply saying, this is it. It starts changing your brain.
Yep.
Because you're not giving in. Well, because you're no longer hanging on. You're finally letting go. Okay, I'm going to try this.
Yes.
You're letting go, and by letting go and stating it affirmatively, you're now back in the stream of life.
Yes.
So listen to this. And this is from Joyce Kramer. Listen to the still small voice. That's Deborah's still small voice, was the voice that said, do it now. Within you, okay, listen to the still small voice within you, urging you onward, because that's what it always does, and move with it. Refuse to pay attention to obstacles, but persistently move toward your goals. Eliminate from your vocabulary negative words such as, it's impossible, hopeless, or difficult. Keep at the job with tenacity and you'll break through all barriers. Because it's like the show description, the words we use, if we're saying it's impossible, hopeless, and difficult, we're the only ones making it impossible, hopeless, and difficult by what we're saying to ourselves.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and every moment, we're based on going along with what Darrell was saying about the stream flow. It's flowing in the right direction. I have to practice affirming. No, this is it, Ed. This is the stream that is carrying me to my good. In that, like, it's easy to say when you're listening to a podcast or you're by yourself, but start practicing. I'm in a meeting. I'm at the DMV. I'm at the conference, and this is it right here. These people around me are God, and they're flowing me in the direction of my good. And just watch how things happen. Because Darrell gave me a copy of the Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox, which I swear I used to have, but whatever. I started reading it again, and he reminds us that Jesus did not teach outer observances and rituals of things we have to do. What he taught was when we are in the right spirit, everything works out for the good. And the spirit is generosity, praise, wholeness, divinely guided.
Yeah, trusting.
And this is it. Because this is it. And I was thinking about, I told you how I now, with Darrell's help, I don't stay at my desk. I go out. The thing is, when I go out and get coffee, I often, if I see someone, you want a coffee? I don't hide it. I'm more open than anyone. I bring back coffees for the very people that you would think might be like, where's he going?
Where'd you get this?
Instead, I go straight to them if I'm inspired. I don't do it like, I'm going to go find the hardest person. But the other day I was inspired. For some reason, I was thinking this lady that she and I have, she's not always been the easiest to work with in the past, but whatever. God whispered in my heart, get her a coffee. She wasn't in her room. I come down the stairs. She happened to be coming right back to her class. I said, are you coming or going? And then I offered her to get her coffee, and she lit up.
Yeah.
Of course, she got like a small black coffee, but that's up to her. But what I'm saying is, because I do it that way, you would think, and Darrell's the living testament of this, you would think maybe I'm the one who's going to get called out, but no. So there's another group of teachers at my school, and they
went on a witch hunt.
They don't. Yeah. So there's a couple teachers that don't have a classroom. They're called teacher on special assignment. They like push in to help small groups, teach reading, but they have time to go get lunch. They come back joyfully, but like, I think because they're not fully aware that of these principles and living it this way.
They're not doing it unapologetically. They're kind of feeling like they have to sneak around.
Right. There's something there because all of a sudden the principal and thankfully I wasn't at this meeting, but the assistant principal, they had this big meeting and it was all about someone who was saying the morale of the school was being dropped because people are taking too long of lunches, people that don't have classrooms. Now think about this. My fearful voice, the old voice, would have thought, that's me they're talking about. I'm getting in trouble. And I did have that thought, but I dismissed it because I was like, nah, that's not the way things work for me.
No.
And it turned out it wasn't about me. It was about these other ladies. I mean, the very people that are complaining about them are the same ones I'm probably buying coffee for, and they see me doing it.
Yeah.
But because the spirit is right, everything always works out. This stuff works when we get the spirit right.
I got one thing to say, because what inspired this show was Kirk, who's we got a couple postcards from him.
Yeah.
And he lives and works, teaches in Europe now, and he's doing what he loves to do. He's doing what he aspired to do, and he's living the life. And but just like all of us, he gets in those head spaces, and the two of us were talking in a healthy way, talking about how we get in those ideas that this is it. Especially when we compare ourselves. That's the worst.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it, and the two of us got so high on the idea because he was listening. He goes, wait a minute. And he started going over every great thing, everything that has not only just brought him greater joy, greater good, and has been substantial in his life, has come without him making it happen. Meaning it comes out of left field. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, him going to an event or something out of necessity. Meaning, I got to go take care of this.
Right. The next,
just letting go.
It's
just
on
like
the
you were
to-do
saying.
list. It's
just like
something
saying,
you got to get done.
I'm at the DMV. I'm not going to curse this. I'm here. This is all part of my divine appointments today.
Yeah.
I'm just going to show up and let the magic happen. And we were saying how we got to remember that we're in the positive stream of life. Just keep reminding ourselves, God's taking care of it. That everything's in divine order. And my greater good is going to come to me not out of force or scheming, but just by me continue to believe that God's taking care of me. Another thing is talking about following hunches. Like you bringing coffee to those ladies, the lady who you think, I don't know. But then you go, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So there's one of the neighbors, one of the young ladies, girls in my neighborhood. She's a lot younger than me. And we became friends through our dogs, and she's an artist. You met her. Oh, no. Did you go to Krista's art show?
I don't think so. No, I don't think I did that
Okay.
night. I was tired.
So she came to Krista's art show. Anyway, there's because she's an artist, I thought yesterday I saw this art opening right here in Culver City. And the first thought was, you should let her know. But then came those other thoughts of,
Right.
oh, she might think it's weird. What are you, a creepy old, dirty old man? Just stupid stuff like you were thinking
Yeah.
about. You're the guy they're
Totally.
talking about.
Yeah, and I get it. Totally.
But here's the thing, folks. I'm not going to argue with a hunch. And I'm so glad I didn't. I send it to her. She immediately came back. Oh my God, this looks so cool. Turns out she had been, first of all, she had no idea this was going on. It's walking distance from our neighborhood. And this is an artist who she's followed in the past.
Wow.
Who her dad told her about years ago because the artist was in a band.
Yeah.
And said, you ought to listen to this band. So it was like this whole magical thing for her. And had I thought those thoughts, those satanic thoughts, those thoughts were disguised as, well, you don't want a young girl to think you're a creep.
Oh, I get that.
Or, toxic masculinity, whatever.
Right. No, I get that.
But I just did it, and it was a super positive blessing all the way around.
That's why the best thing we can do for this world, this moment, any world, any moment, is to stay in the spirit of generosity, because it's not about doing different things as much as it's doing this in the spirit of wholeness and life and generosity and and wanting it for everyone else as well.
Yes.
That really changes it, and that's what allows me, because if I'm willing to accept the good, like I leave my desk, I go do all these things, I also I benefit because now I want that for all the other teachers, and I know that they could have it too, because I want them to have a joyous life. And the thing about the spirit too, like last night, I was considering going to this open mic because I played an open mic recently, first time in years, and I've told myself,
and it went really. You enjoyed the experience.
I enjoyed it, and I was also like, I don't know, I brought some stuff up that I wanted to clean up in my head, like about just kind of like, why do I do this, and like. But so last night I was going to go, and I was sitting and I said, I'm going to meditate first, because I'm not 100% in the yes. Like there's one part of me, if it was just that part of me, that I would say yes, but there's another part of me that wasn't sure. I meditated and I fell asleep, and I slept too long to go to the open mic, and I woke up going, this was what I was meant to do.
Yes.
Because the wholeness and the well-being I feel from this. So, and it is exactly what I would have been looking for from that. And if I had gone there tired, I would have got my well-being trying to, like, why isn't this making me feel good? But really, I just needed a nap. And it just brought me to say, like, if we're inspired by lack, because the part of me that was going to push myself to do it was like, oh, I might miss out. Or it's better to treat the concern. Let go of the concern. You can't miss out.
You cannot miss out.
And you don't know. The next person in your band or the next gig could be at the DMV. It could be at the job meeting thing you go to.
That's right.
And you'll end up playing the open mic at the right time. You'll end up doing that thing at the right time, but treat the concern first, and you'll always it'll always pay off. Did you? We got so much stuff.
Shoot,
here.
we should.
Can I just read from this book?
Yeah, we're gonna read this, and then because we got
to get
Richard
through a couple cards, breaths, and we'll get Richard.
Yes.
Okay. So
this is from Learning by Heart, the Karita Kent book.
Yeah.
That I highly recommend. Now Ed recommends it because he started reading it.
Because I was listening to your podcast, and it's awesome to have Darrell's podcast where it's like, because I hear you all the time in this setting, but to hear you just teaching and me just being there as an artist because I'm doing music and more creative stuff, it's been really great, because I never heard him mention, or not in that way, and he may have, but I got the book immediately like I would. And so she gives great. It was written by Karita Kent and Jan Stewart, who was one of her students.
Yeah, actually, this is everything Karita Kent taught in her classes, but Jan helped her compile it.
And Karita was like you, because Jan was like said something about a book that should be written, and Karita told her, "You write the book."
Yeah.
And she's like, "What, me?" So she wrote it.
Karita Kent was like, "I don't really want to write the book, but if you want to."
Yeah, so it has exercises of like, how can you get into this is it mentality, living now, seeing things creatively. I mean, I'm at the beginning of the book, but that's what I'm getting so far. And so this page is called Find a Child. And I happen to, my niece, who's like 3 or 4, I think she just turned 4, is outside. I think 4. Man, I feel bad, but I've never been good with ages. Anyway, so she lives in the front house and she comes over. So I got to see the example firsthand. So she says, find a child. And you should try this and think about this. If you have a child 2 or 3 or can borrow one, let her give you beginning lessons in looking. It just takes a few moments. Ask the child to come from the front of the house to the back and closely observe her small journey. It will be full of pauses, circling, touching, picking up in order to smell, shake, taste, rub, and scrape, and yell in my niece's case and whatever else. The child's eyes won't leave the ground, and every piece of paper, every scrap, every object along the path will be a new discovery. This could be said for a dog or a cat as well. Well, more of a dog. It does not matter that this is all familiar territory. The same house, the same rug, the same chair. To the child, the journey of this particular day with its special light and sound has never been made before. So the child treats the situation with the open curiosity and attention that it deserves. The child is quite right. And remember, Jesus said, you got to be like a child to enter the kingdom. And within you, the kingdom is now. This is it. Looking at shadows is the next piece. It says, it takes practice for us to discover this ability to see, or before that, the gift of even wanting to see. For so many years, we've been learning to judge and dismiss. I know what that thing is. I've seen it 100 times. And we've lost the complex realities, laws, and details that surround us. Try looking the way the child looks, as if always for the first time, and you will, I promise, feel wider awake than since yourself wound your own way from that back to the front, back of the house to the front. Try it, do it. Yeah, try it, do it. These little silly exercises, man, they work. So Kirky sent us a postcard. If you want to send us a postcard, funniest thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. This is where I was the day when I thought, this is it. Today I escaped from the crush of circumstances, or better part, I threw them out. For the crush wasn't from the outside me, but in my own assumptions. The crush wasn't from outside of me, but in my own assumptions. And that's from Marcus Aurelius. If you want to see the postcard, you can check it out on Facebook. Oh, I see. It's a face. I mean, YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, it's dead face.
Dead face. He also sent us one.
Cheap.
Little bird saying, cheap. And we always say, don't be cheap. And he says, Fuzz, this was straight to Darrell, live generously, think generously, pray generously, give generously. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Give generously, eat generously, rest generously, love generously. Don't be cheap. Kirky loves you. There's another one here.
This one's a great one. It's a tombstone.
Kirky.
And the tombstone says, I was here first.
And he says, live for the inner reward, not for outer approval.
Yes.
That's the key to creativity.
That's what we're talking about.
Other people's opinions of me are none of my business, says Al Anon. What is that, an Italian guy?
He's Italian.
And then Kirky said, I was here first. And then we did get a card from the UK. It says, you're my cup of tea. And it says, dear Darrell and Ed, your podcast is my cup of tea. Thank you for continuing to provide a truly refreshing beverage with love and gratitude, grace. And she says, I am open and receptive to all good, said with arms wide open, letting it in, all prosperity and all good.
And now,
let's thank the Patreon people real quick.
Yes.
Because of your contributions, we remain commercial free, which means there's no other spirit of just selling stuff that you don't need or want or whatever being inserted. No interruptions. It's just pure truth, the way the film wars, I believe, would like it. So thank you. And if you're not on Patreon, if you're not subscribing to Patreon, it's a great way to circulate some money towards something that you benefit from. I'm taking it if you're still with us. So patreon.com/funniest thing. It's also in the description for the show. Let's thank Chief Engineer Jeff Comfort, because each week
he takes us
right into the comfort zone. All right, time for our 3 breaths.
Yeah, this is an oldie but goodie.
You know, this is all about taking it one inspired day at a time.
And remember, we're starting at
this one.
Yeah, but not the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is life, the one you get. So go and have a ball.
This is life, the one you get. So go and have a ball.
This is life, the one you get. So go and have a ball. I think I'd like to hear AC/DC cover that. All right, coming up next, Unity Urban Ministry Radio's Reverend Richard A. Pacheco rejuvenates us with today's reading. Can you imagine that? Thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Middle School Studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
All right, Mr. Pacheco, you can unmute.
Mr. Pacheco.
Oh, there he is.
There I am.
All right. Welcome to
Are you
the
going to use
the YouTube portion. We're not quite, this won't be on the audio podcast, but our YouTube people can see you. Yeah, Darrell, you need a tinkle. Go ahead and do that.
Oh, wow.
We're going to fire it up for the second segment here. Okay, hold on. I noticed something I want to edit in the description while I'm thinking about it. Soon you'll be on the scene. Certain that you'll soon. Oh, there we go. What I forget. Are you speaking like as guest speakers, or are you? Do you actually have a congregation full time now, Reverend?
I'm more guest speaker. I try to attend Unity of Hagerstown, as that would be my local church right now.
Okay. And then what's the best? Well, we'll tell people on the air as well. But what's the best way for people to keep up with you?
I guess the Pacheco Pathway email I sent you guys, if you have it up there. If not, it's just Richard at pachecospathways.com.
Okay, cool. So they can email you directly.
Right.
Yeah. All right, great. All right. So we've been aiming at the hour mark. Do you have to be out right at 2 or 5 by you, or do you have a few? Are you
No, I'm good. I'm good.
playing fast?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, cool. And Fazzaro's coming back. I'm going to do the same thing. If you need to tinkle as well. All right. We're leaving you alive on YouTube.
Don't wait to throw things out. Oh, we left him alone on the air.
Should have heard what I said about you guys.
Oh, man. All right. So we don't want. I don't want to ask any questions now because then they won't be on the show. So we're just gonna sit here, and Ed will be here real quick. Here he comes. All right.
Dude, I'm excited. I got a great paragraph here.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You ready to come back?
Yeah, you want to?
All right. Welcome back to Funniest Thing. Today's episode, This Is It, with Reverend Richard Pacheco.
Yeah.
I think Ed has a quick reading before
It's only one paragraph, Reverend. I hate to prolong the wait, but it says from Catherine Ponder. Every time I go in Darrell's library, so to speak, at the break, I open this book, Dynamic Laws of Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. It's a great book. Darrell highlighted this paragraph. It is true that man becomes what he imagines, and that man's continuous imagination is sufficient to remold or create anything. But don't just take my word for it. Instead, join with me and many others who are discovering that the imagining power of prosperity is one of the most delightful and powerful of all.
Yes.
We are always making something out of nothing.
Yes.
That could be a good thing or a bad thing. That's what dawned on me this morning because something was bothering me, and my intuition told me, you're making something out of nothing. And I realized we're always making something out of, because
substance.
Why are we paused down there? Hold on. Can you hear us, Richard?
I hear you guys fine.
Are we moving on your end?
No, you're
video?
just pointing at me, so I'm just.
Yeah. Okay.
There
Here
you
we
go.
go. We're back.
Okay, we're back. Cool. That was a good time for it to pause because I was pointing authoritatively.
I see what it is. For some reason, the YouTube stream
is like putting as long as we get the audio.
No, we
Sorry.
got it. Because I can see right here. Look at the YouTube.
Okay.
But
all right,
we're good.
Right,
the audio is recording fine.
So anyway, we're always making something out of nothing. That's what metaphysics is all about. But we're so happy to have you here today, Reverend Richard A. Pacheco. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and I'm honored to be here as always. Love you guys. Been listening to you since you guys were on Unity Radio, so.
That's amazing. And now we're with you on the Anointed Radio over there.
There you go, yep.
There's also a link to that in the description to this show where you can, all through the week, you could be listening to sermons or music for inspiration, which is so important. There's no one, if anyone tells you they're so enlightened that they don't need to be reminded, I would find another teacher, because they're lying. But so you've been listening, Richard, to what we've been saying. I know we sent you a description. Do you want to share some things, some of your thoughts on the subject or what you've been hearing us talk about today?
Yeah, after hearing you guys, I was about to say, well, I don't need to be here anymore because you pretty much said everything I would have said. So I'm about to leave. But no, I mean, I love the fact that you touched on a few things there, especially around when we talk about the teachings of Jesus by example. You talked about, you made the joke about Satan and all that in our head. And in fact, when we look at the literature, it actually calls him the adversary. And if you remember the story of the temptation, it has turned rock, stone to bread. We kind of missed the part that's his human side going, I'm hungry, or, I'm about to give you the riches of the world, that temptation of fame that I think all us ministers and stuff go to, that we have to kind of remember that, yes, it's good to be up front because we're teaching, but not to be the center of attention, because we want the lessons and the traditional teachings to be the example. And then finally, testing God, or let's change God to good, testing our own good. Are we good enough?
Yeah.
So I love that when we talked about the adversary, if I may throw a literature in there, I think it was one of the great books I read, which was outside of Unity. It's by Mel Robbins, called The 5-Second Rule. And she talks about that. She talks about how we get that intuition, that thing that says, this is what we need to do right now. And then you can literally count it down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the story starts. That adversary inside of us is like, no, we don't need to do that. No, that's not important enough. And I do that now myself. As soon as I start to get intuition, I start to act and know I've got a 5-second window to say, I'm doing this now.
Wow.
That's very good.
That's very good.
Surprisingly from an adversary.
A famous
adversary.
I always want to say that this week I was, I teach special education, and I had a meeting for a kid. And one of the things we do, because I'm a 5th grade teacher, is determine what program they're going to be in the next year.
Right.
So we've been doing this inclusion thing where these kids with special needs are in these general education classrooms. We've been doing it in a very messy way in our district, but still, we just plunk them in those rooms. And what's crazy is what the research says, and what I see is they highly benefit. Even if they can barely access what they're learning, them and everyone else benefits. So I've been seeing it. But a lot of times when they come to this meeting to determine where they're going to go to middle school, everyone will push them back into just this special ed classroom where they're which is, don't get me wrong, there's no good or bad to any of this, because sometimes there's appropriateness for all this stuff. But I had this strong feeling that even though this little girl's scores were low and like saying, go here, I'm seeing her trajectory go up and the benefit of her being there. And so I had the meeting coming up, and I sat in my car, and I was like, for some reason in the past, I've been with this group, like almost like sheepish. How am I going to tell them that? I just have this intuition of where But I went in my car and I realized, you know what? I want to get better at advocating, just sharing from that inspired place. And I didn't even think beyond that. I walk in my room, and I did a 15-minute meditation. I went in my room. Also, the lady who could help me with this was in my room. She was there on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday. She calls the lady at the middle school team who suddenly had a meeting drop out and could come to the meeting that I was about to have.
Wow.
So she brings more of just like this scientific languaging to it. And wouldn't you know, the girl got placed and the people who were kind of, I don't want to say they're against it, but were in favor of her. Oh yeah, she definitely needs that. Even they were converted. But it wasn't something I willed. It was something I was willing and open to being a part of change, growing myself. And all these miracles lined up. And it's like you said, the intuition told me exactly what was. And even after it happened, I was like, what have I done? The same voice, the adversary came in. But yes.
But it started in your mind, just like she said in Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, like Catherine Ponder said.
Yeah.
You're imagining it, and then you were willing to not remain, just by willing not to remain sheepish.
Yeah.
Just be willing to the possibility of me no longer living in that.
Yeah, because I didn't want to live there either.
Yeah. And then what happens? Just the willingness, I don't want to live like that anymore. And then God did all the heavy lifting.
A whole team.
We don't have to, that's what I mean. We don't have to strive to be the new person. We just have to be willing to no longer be the old one that doesn't fit anymore.
And I had to drop my story about the people, because one of the thoughts that the intuition whispered into my ear was, why are you saying that guy's mind can't change? Who said that to you? Like, why don't you stay open to the fact that it's just a thought in your mind? Change it in your mind. Change your mind about his mind in your mind, and
it'll change his mind.
It's just, sorry to share all this. It's just now it's dawning on me, all the things that happened in that moment. And what you're saying just reminded me. And Darrell and I were talking about the story of the temptation earlier. So I'm so glad you shared it in a way that we wouldn't have been able to with even more clarity. That's awesome.
Yeah. And again, you guys are hitting it right on the nose. Because again, I too, as you go through challenges, you're trying to kind of not. So again, I'm an old Catholic boy. So, I was born and raised Catholic, found unity many, many, many years later, and here it is, going through some challenges. So I decided to pull an old book by Reverend Jim Rosemergy, Even Mystics Have to Pay Bills. And I said, well, there's a reason I'm being called to this. So let me pull out my book, And in the book, he says it perfectly, and it brought clarity to me, because you guys are touching right on that. It's, we hear God as our source. And the problem with that is, especially someone like me who still has that embedded theology, is thinking of the guy in the sky with the ATM machine going, okay, he'll fix this if I pray hard enough, if I do. And it's not that. He says, remember that God is the source, but the supply is the presence.
Yes.
And Eric Butterworth says it. He says, we are the potters at the wheel. And if we can mold that, so we can go to any pottery class we want, and the clay could be sitting there, and in our mind, we may be saying, that's a vase. But until we actually put our hands on it and do something with it, it never becomes the vase. So when I heard that, it reminded me. So as I was going through certain challenges, every time I do it, he actually wrote another book recently released called A Little Book of Prayer, where he reminds us that the most powerful prayer Jesus ever said was, the Father and I are one. He said, try that for 40 days. All you do is just center yourself and say, the Father and I are one. And I did that. And I'm not going to get into a whole lesson about chemicalization, but a lot of stuff started coming up.
Yeah.
But when I stayed in that intuition space, when I stayed in that little voice space, things started happening, things started rolling, things started opening up. I came, and I think I shared this with you the last time. When I was in Pennsylvania, I was part of a big unity church that kept, was dwindling. And everything in my mind was trying to force something. How can I make this bigger? How can I attract more people? And it never worked. It came to a point where they finally closed down and I gave up. But when I surrendered, which you guys talked about as well, and came to West Virginia, all of a sudden now I'm getting phone calls from people I've never spoken to going, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Could you do this? Could you do that? I mean, even now I'm speaking at Unity Center of Light tomorrow. And what I love about the talk today, which is I'm reading this going, wow, now intuition now validated me, my talk tomorrow, which is the nice title is Easter, the Easter of our life, because last Sunday was Easter, where the actual title should have been Easter's over, now what?
Yeah.
Because a
Right.
lot of people don't realize, and this is for those with Catholic backgrounds, know that everybody talks about Lent and the 40 days prior to Easter. But when you're Catholic, you have that 40 days after Easter to Ascension Thursday. So if we take it from a metaphysical point of view, Easter's happened, the tomb has been opened. We now know we've gone through our crucifixion, we've gone through our chemicalization, we've gone through what, let's call it hell. We've gone through
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
There's a light, there's a door. Finally it's moving. I'm walking out in my presence. I now know I'm the Christ presence. I now know that I have the Christ in me. I know that intuitive nature is divine in me and I need to follow it. And now for the next 40 days, I should be focused on just building myself and studying and practicing and all of that, because Ascension Thursday to me is that final point where you go to that final point of, as taught in the metaphysics now, the verity, which is, I know that what is happening is me. And I've
Yeah.
ascended to that. And if we remember in the biblical story, at the same time, Pentecost Thursday is when the apostles supposedly received the Holy Spirit, which to us in metaphysics is expression. So now I know it's me. I know my thoughts is what I'm producing.
Yes.
Yes.
So again, as Jesus said, as to your faith, was it done unto you?
Yeah.
So when my thoughts are right, I'm
My life is-
expressing into this,
yeah.
and life is good, no matter what it seems like at this
Yeah.
point.
I'm glad you're bringing up the chemicalization, and I wouldn't mind if you said a little bit more, just because I went through like having being under the weather. It fell out. It all worked out perfectly. We didn't have a show that week, so I didn't have to worry about that. But there was a moment, and I invited and I noticed my mind before that or during that was going to this, like, not even imagining my good. It didn't want to imagine. And I was like, why would I not want to imagine my good right now? And I was noting that. And I had this one moment where I really felt like everything started to lift and I had asked Charles Fillmore and Jesus to invited them in. So for some reason, Charles Fillmore's just been speaking to me lately. I want to know more about who he is. For me, a personal understanding. And so I sat down to meditate, and something clicked where I was just like, I have the best wife. I live in the best house. I have whatever, everything was just, I am amazing. My friends are amazing. The show is, everything clicked. And I was like, wow, that's all true. I fell asleep and I felt a million times better afterwards. But then after that, and I think this might be what you're talking about with chemicalization, a lot of stuff, it felt the doubt and the worry felt more intense for like the week or so, or even till now. It's still being released following that. Is that what kind of like chemicalization is to you? Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the chemicalization is definitely that. It is, somebody did an experiment with it, which I thought was the greatest experiment, and this will simplify it a bit, and then I'll explain more, where they put dirt in the water and they agitated the dirt. And then they threw an Alka-Seltzer into it. So what happens to the dirt now is the dirt rises to the top. So it's the same thing. And I went through exactly the same thing throughout my entire life. I literally believed that no matter what good came into my life, the other shoe was going to drop sooner or later. And guess what happened? Because my thought was in that pattern, the other shoe dropped.
Right.
But when we talk about chemicalization, it's literally that. We're now embarking on new thought. We have, a lot of people like to say the ego is bad, and it really isn't. All it is all the thoughts and all the perceptions that people have embedded into us that have now become part of our heart or our subconscious, as we know now, is part of that, and it's created a personality that we live by. I've come to the point where I've had to learn, and this was through coaching, that I need to stop focusing on other people and focus on me. So I can't live my life with the whole everybody's against me, this is that, because if I act this way, if I speak that way, no, I'm going to speak the truth as I know it. Now, is it 100% truth? Who knows? I can only tell you what I know.
Right.
But at that point, it's that now you're speaking truth. You feel good. Like you said, you woke up great. But now it's that adversary going, well, should we have said that? Maybe we shouldn't say that.
Right.
Well, who are you to speak like that? Oh, imposter syndrome. I know it well. This has been a best friend for a long time that I try to get rid of. But that is that whole, okay, am I good enough to speak that? Do I really know enough to be a unity minister? I'm
Yeah.
a certified life coach, and am I good enough? Who am I to coach somebody?
Right.
You know, I've done Reiki. Well, is this real or is this not? So there's a lot of things that come up afterwards. And that's what chemicalization is.
Yeah.
And this is where we use the quote, I think it's Winston Churchill, who said, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah.
Because, you're in that space where at any minute to stay comfortable, you'll give up on that intuition. You'll give up on that faith, you know, and we know that the difference between belief and faith is belief says, hey, I believe it's going to happen. And faith says, I know it's already done. I just need to get there.
Yeah.
So once we get through that, so that's the chemicalization part of it, is that when you're starting to find that truth within you, when that true being of you is coming out, it's that ego part of you, that subconscious part of you that's been programming, that's fighting its way. And it's not a bad thing because it's survival mode. It's your ego based on the programming going, oh, well, no. This is not who we are. We need to be here and the people here. And I'm trying to protect you, but we have to realize that with love on it, we say, hey, thank you for sharing.
Yes.
But I know where I got to go.
Yeah.
And just keep moving. And then when you, as I said, roll the tomb away, you go through and finally realize, okay, here I am.
Yeah.
Now, chemicalization will continue to come up. Some people call it the dark night of the soul. But each time it happens, you're that much stronger because you already know.
Right. Yeah. The one last thing I want to say is that when you said that, what it reminded me was the other revelation that came to me while I was sitting there. That moment I had, that really clear moment, was I don't do the healing. God does the healing.
Mm-hmm.
All this stress is me trying to do the healing. That's what's got me to this place. So when I let go of that, that's also what the tomb, like the stone was rolled away when I let go of that. And then that's also what I feel like the chemicalization is, like my subconscious mind going, of course I have to do this. What are you doing? We have to do this. And I've been doing something that I got from, I've been watching these chiropractic videos. People are getting adjusted because I love to feel that when they go, I feel so much better. But the guy was there's one guy that seems like he's really does it with, like, in the spirit. He talks about God sometimes, and like he understands the spiritual part of it. But he told the guy that he was about to crack, he's like, command that your body relax right now. He said, and this is very Emmett Fox, your body has to listen. Mm-hmm. And I've been using that with my subconscious mind. That's the only thing I was going to say, is that I command that my subconscious mind let go right now. God is doing this. I'm not doing this. God is, so learning, like you were talking about a lot earlier, dominion. We have dominion over the kingdom and learning to use it.
You know what my friend Mike Dugan would tell me? We weren't calling it chemicalization then.
Yeah.
But as I was growing, and now I use it all the time, this belief that, okay, this is a good sign that all these negative ideas are coming out right now, because it means I'm growing.
Right.
And he said, Darrell, this is good, because it's like, if you have a wound, a physical wound or an infection, the pus has to come up and to the surface and out.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't stuff it. It doesn't get stuffed down. So this is a way of your subconscious letting go of these old beliefs, in different ways. It has to rise up through your consciousness and then out. Right. It can't be stuffed down more. That's the problem. You've been stuffing it down, and you've just been playing that recording over and over. Now that recording is being thrown out, in essence, and it's now time to rejoice. And that's why I like the reading in Emmett Fox and Around the Year of Emmett Fox. It's also in his other books as a little essay where he calls it, consider this the devil's last ditch. So when these things come up, don't let them pull you back down. This is the devil's last ditch. This means this is evidence that I really am overcoming, that I really am transforming for the better. And I'm not going to have to pass this way again. And then as we grow a little more, then yes, we'll go through releasing some more of these old ideas. But every time our life improves along with us, as we don't give in. I love the thing you said, that the best thing that stuck in my head, that you said was faith is knowing it's already done. I'm just got to go through this, to get there. Like I'm on my way there.
Right.
And that really helps if you're feeling ill, to remind myself, no, I know this is not forever. I just need to get through this portion of the show and everything's going to be great. And that actually, accelerates the healing, I believe.
Yeah.
It really accelerates the healing because now all of a sudden my whole conscious mind and my subconscious, because now I'm feeling the anticipation, is all working now together. And I think that's when the healing really comes to whoop. That's where it turns the course, where the fever breaks.
Yep. But it definitely is. And again, it's something that I had to finally learn, even as a minister, we get that people put us on that pedestal, like, oh, we're ministers, we're supposed to be perfect. Well, trust me, we probably go through it worse because we're trying to hold ourselves at a person and that, but it is about that. It's that whole, understanding that thoughts become things, and even from a traditional point, if we're praying for things, what does the song say? Our thoughts are prayers and we are always praying.
Yeah.
It's the same situation. It's that thought pattern. And what are you focusing on? What's your perspective? Is life always good? Or I think it was Wayne Dyer used to say, you can get up in the morning and say, hey, good God, it's morning. Or you can say, hey, good morning, God.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and realizing that this is it. Like everything you've ever read, no matter what teacher or Bible, it's talking about this.
Right.
It's not talking about something that happened somewhere else, or there was more important people, or there was more exciting. It's talking about this moment right now, because really this is an incredible opportunity. The fact that we are alive and life force God is moving through us in this moment. I just had a friend at work who was diagnosed with something that was, scary for anyone. And she came in to work one day to our meeting, and she's getting ready to take some time off to deal with all this. And I kept hearing her say, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And, she's trying to maneuver. This is not judgment at all, but I just kept hearing her say, I'm going to be like, she was doing her best to comfort the people around.
Right.
And so when I was leaving, I just took her aside and because this is what intuitively came to me to tell her. I said, you are okay. You're okay right now. This is going on. Whatever you're feeling is okay. Let's just no, you're not going to be okay. You are okay. And I just told her, I can't wait for the good news. I can't wait, and it felt so good because I wasn't lying.
No,
I realized,
that's the truth. It's for so long we've been told, how dare you say those things?
Yeah.
But no, that is the truth.
Yeah. And she started crying in a good way, releasing, and was thankful for that. And the thing was, the reason why I can say these things now and is because I'm living them. I'm practicing it on myself first. I'm not just telling her what she should do. I'm just sharing what I see and know, because the gift of knowing that we are alive, and God's law of adjustment goes into full swing when my consciousness shifts into, whoa, I'm alive right now. God's power, the divine, is flowing through me. All things are indeed possible.
Yep. It's funny because we talk about that as a Reiki practitioner. I'm also a teacher. A lot of people are like, oh, what's Reiki? It's magic. It's not. It's just I'm being God's instrument, more or less. I'm allowing that loving flow to come through. And the only thing I'm doing is allowing myself to help you reach that same potential.
Yeah.
And we say that even in Reiki classes, like, it's not me who heals you. All I'm doing is facilitating a place where you can begin to use that gift that you have, that inner healing, to accentuate. Because sometimes, like you said, when our thoughts are in, oh my God, I've been diagnosed with this, or this is hurting, or this is that, woe is me. And sometimes you need someone to give you permission. And that, to me, is what Reiki is. I'm allowing myself to allow this loving, healing energy to flow through me to you, to help you come back to that perfection that you are, that healing perfection. You can heal yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
All right. So what do you want?
This is a perfect time to read that reading.
Oh, yeah.
After what you just said.
The Foster, right?
Yeah, the Foster McClellan.
Yes.
This is exactly perfect after what you just said.
Yeah, this book comes from the book Thoughts for a Friend by Foster McClellan. We stumbled upon it in a Unity library. Thankfully, we claimed it before that library burned down, I believe. But it's a great book. Not many people know about it, but we just happened to stumble upon it. But
everyone we recommend it to, they swear by it because it's short, like one paragraph.
Yeah.
Little writings.
It's just kind-hearted, lighthearted, but packed with truth. So.
Yes. So whenever you're ready, Reverend Richard.
All right. And it says, have you ever used the expression, can you imagine that? That's a pretty important question, More and more people are beginning to realize that we become what we think about. Now, if this is true, it follows that we become the person we like to imagine ourselves to be. You can never receive anything in life that you cannot first picture in your mind. It is a universal law. So let's imagine ourselves to be whole, free, happy, successful, relaxed, healthy, and peaceful. Can you imagine that? Do you get the picture? It's important to you, my friend, and to the world about you.
Amen.
Amen to that. Well, do you have any last thoughts you want to share? And maybe you can let people know where they can find you as well before we wrap up the show.
Sure. I mean, like I said, the whole thing is that you have it. This is it. We have to remember that it's a focus on us. It doesn't matter what the political climate is. It doesn't matter what the world climate is. It doesn't matter what your perspective is of your life at this moment. This is it. This is our presence. This is our moment. This is the good place. And we have to remember, when Jesus said the two greatest commandments, and I say, well, you said two, but I'd heard a third one, and I actually do a talk on this. Says, love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. But the problem is we kind of skip over the love ourselves part. And that's what's important here is that, remember, if we love ourselves, bring our thoughts into alignment and things like that, we come to this place. This is it. This is our presence. This is the good in us.
Yeah.
As far as me, my website's a work in progress, but it's pachecospathways.com. You can reach me at richard@pachecospathways.com.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've hold too many titles to sit here in between webmaster and radio and everything else. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of guest speaking via Zoom right now and things like that. So, and as I tell people, I don't know how to say no. So if anybody needs help with anything, just reach out and I'll be more than glad to help you any way I can.
Well, thank you.
Well, you helped one of your parishioners because we have a little story here.
Yes. So apparently, I'm not sure where we found this, maybe on your website, but a worried member of the congregation came in to see Reverend Richard Pacheco and told him,
Reverend, I am scared. Please pray for me. Every time I put my finger on my elbow, it's so painful. Every time I put my finger on my leg, it's so painful. Every time I put my finger on my head, it's so painful. Every time I put my finger on my belly, it's so painful. Do you think I have fibromyalgia?
Reverend Richard smiled.
Relax, my friend. I think you've broken your finger.
That was good. Like that.
This is before we even realized he's a Reiki healer.
I know. Yeah, he would say, "Let me see that finger. You got a broken finger."
But that's the way we do it. Making something out of nothing or making a big deal out of a very small deal if we're not careful. So, well, thanks everyone for being a part of the funniest thing. Let's just do this part, right?
Yeah.
With Darrell and Ed and Reverend Richard A. Pacheco. Please subscribe and share the show with your friends. And just remember, this is it. This is life, the one you get. So go and have a ball. This is it. Straight ahead and rest assured, you can't be sure at all. So while you're here, enjoy the view. Keep on doing what you do. So hold on tight, we'll muddle through one day at a time. All right, everyone. Have a great day, Richard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Love you guys.